Magandang araw, I'm Teacher Rika and welcome to the science class. Today, I will share to you the concept of force and the types of force. So, let's start. Whenever we talk about force, we are referring to the pull or push of an object towards another object. And before we proceed, let me emphasize to you that in the science context, whenever we use the term object or objects, and in some other books, the term body, we are referring to all kinds of matter. These include the living things and non-living things, and things that are visible or invisible, or things that you cannot touch or you can touch. Example nito, we have door, windows, road signs, ground, air, water. Also, we have plants, trees, and even humans and animals. But in the English context, whenever we use the term object, we could only refer to non-living things. Okay? Now, going back with the force, forces occur in pairs. Ang ibig sabihin nito, once an object exerted a force to another object either by pushing that object or pulling that object, that another object will give back that force. So, meron lang action force and reaction force na nag-exist doon sa dalawang object na nag-i-interact. Okay? Also, what are the other things that force can do? Force can make objects move. Force can make objects move faster. At the same time, force can stop the motion of an object. And lastly, force can change the direction of objects that are in motion. And take note that force is a vector quantity. Ang ibig sabihin lamang nito, meron siyang magnitude and meron siyang direction. And if we want to measure the magnitude of a force, we are using the standard unit newtons, coined from Sir Isaac Newton. And it is important that when we are dealing with force, we should be able to describe the direction of the force applied of an object towards the another object. Okay? Example, I have here the soccer ball and the soccer ball is at rest. How can you make this soccer ball or object move or move? Yes, by kicking the ball, you already apply the force by pushing it. So that ball will move. And of course, yung ball na yon, pwedeng mag-move in different direction. Depende doon sa direction ng force na in-apply mo sa ball. However, can force always cause motion? To answer that, let's examine the picture. In this picture, we have a man who is pulling a wall. And here, is the man exerting a force? Yes. But did the wall move? No. Therefore, we could say na forces do not always cause motion, but all motion is due to forces acting on objects. Meaning, yung man and yung wall, both of them are receiving and exerting force to one another. Pero hindi ibig sabihin nito, there is a motion. Okay? Continue. When describing force, we should describe the magnitude, the direction of the force, and the point of application of the force. For the magnitude, it is the size or the strength. And for example nito, 5 newtons, 10 newtons, depende doon sa size or doon sa strength ng binigay na force ng object. In terms of direction, we are using the following terms. Pwedeng north, south, east, west, o kaya naman left to the right, upward, downward, sideward, backward, as a description of the direction of motion of the force. But sometimes we could also use signs, positive signs or negative signs. Ginagamit lang natin ang positive sign kung gusto mong i-represent that the force is in north direction or in east direction. Sometimes in right direction or upward direction. On the other hand, ginagamit mo lang ang negative sign kapag gusto mong i-represent na yung direction ng force ay south, west, or to the left, o kaya naman downward. Okay? Now, let me give you an example. In the example, we have a picture. Let us say it is a ball, and you apply a force towards this ball. Now, let us say you apply 5 newtons. So that will be your magnitude. So the magnitude of the force you applied towards the ball is 5 newton. Now let's describe the direction of the ball. So if the direction of the force is toward the ball or towards the ball to the right, so the direction of the ball will be to the right. Same with the motion of the ball. Next, point of application. When we say point of application, ito yung point or area wherein you apply the force to the object. So dito, nung nag-apply tayo ng force, let us say, dito sa part ng object na to, natin in-apply yung force. So ito yung point of application. And when we say line of action, whenever we say line of action, the line of action is a straight line passing through the point of application and is parallel to the direction of the force. So, kung saan yung point of application mo at kung saan yung direction ng force, ito yung ating line of action. Alright? Let's try this one. Let's analyze and describe the forces in this scenario. A man exerts 30 newtons in pushing an empty cart. So in this picture, we have two bodies or two objects involved, a man and a push cart. Between the two, it is the man that is exerting a force towards our push cart. So let's describe the magnitude, direction, and point of application of this picture. For our magnitude, the man exerted 30 newtons. So, our magnitude is 30 newtons. The direction of the force is, the man is pushing the push cart to the right or forward. So, we could say that the direction of the force is to the right. So, we have here an arrow for the direction of the force. Next, the point of application. So, for the point of application, nasan nga ba yung interaction ng dalawang object? Saan nag-start? So, yung interaction o yung point of application ng force ng dalawang object na to ay dito. Kung saan yung handle ng push cart. So, while the man holds the push cart through the handle and pushing the push cart, ito yung ating point of application. And of course, our line of action is parallel to the direction of the force and the point of the application. Okay? Also, we have the two types of force. We have what we call the contact forces and non-contact forces. Pag sinabi natin contact force, ito yung force experienced by the bodies or by objects with physical contact with one another. Kapag naman non-contact forces are forces experienced by objects or bodies without physical contact with each other. Let me give you an example of each. First example natin ng contact force, we have what we call an applied force. Sa applied force, it is a force given to a body, object, or person by another body. And the symbol for it is capital letter F, depending on who or what applies force to the object. For example, in this picture, we have two bodies or two objects. We have a boy and we have a wall. And this is an example of a contact forces because nagkaroon ng physical interaction yung wall at saka yung boy. Now, sino yung mag-a-apply ng applied force? Is it the wall or the boy? The answer will be the boy. It is the boy who will apply it is the boy who applies a applied force by pushing the wall forward. That's why yung direction ng ating force ay forward. Remember, whenever we describe the force of an object, there should be a direction. And in this picture, the direction is to the left or to the towards the wall. Next, let's try this one. In this picture, we have a boy who is pulling a box. Okay, we have two objects, the box and we have the boy. Between the two, of course, this is an example of applied force kasi merong physical contact between the boy and the box. Okay, so dito, it is the boy who applies the applied force by pulling the box towards the pwedeng to the left. Okay? Next, other examples of applied force. Actually, applied force or forces in general are part of our everyday life. We are just unaware that we are already experiencing force. Example, the moment you open the door or close the door or switch off the light or switch on the light or even just easily opening a cup, you are already applying a applied force. Next, let's proceed with the second example of contact force. Let's have friction. When we say friction, friction is a force acting against or opposite an object in contact with, which makes the movement slow down. And the symbol for a friction is small letter F as the subscript. And depending on who or what applies force to the object. Pakitandaan din that friction is the reason why if you have a ball and the ball is in motion, for example, a ball rolling on a hill, mapapansin nyo that the ball will slow down and of course, hihinto rin siya. Ang reason dito is friction. Okay? So, to better understand friction, I have here an example. We have two objects, a box and we have the surface or ground. Ngayon, let's try to push the box. So, let's apply a force by pushing the box. Yung direction ng force natin ay to the right. Now, magre-react yung ating ground. Remember that the force is, or forces are always in pairs. So, kailangan magre-react yung ating second object. So, between the box and the surface or yung ground, which of them will apply the frictional force? It is the ground or the surface. The ground or the surface will apply a frictional force towards the box. Okay? Kung yung movement ng force ng box ay papunta ng right, yung ating naman direction for the friction is to the left. Remember, friction is against or opposite on object in contact with. Okay? Next, we also have different types of friction. We have static friction, sliding friction, rolling friction, air resistance, and viscous friction. For the static friction, let us say you want to or you are trying to push a box. Pero dahil sobrang bigat ng box, hindi mo siya ma-move, hindi siya gumagalaw. Even though na hindi gumagalaw yung box, nakaka-experience pa rin siya ng static friction. Ang nakaka-experience ng static friction ay yung box at ang nag-a-apply ng static friction ay yung surface or yung ground. So, pinipigilan ng ground yung paggalaw ng box towards the right direction by applying a static friction to the left direction. Okay? Next, sliding friction. What if with the enough force, you were able to push the box? So, kapag natulak mo yung box at gumalaw yung box, ang meron ka na ay sliding friction, hindi na static friction. The ground or the floor will exert a sliding friction towards the box. Okay? And the direction of it is to the left, opposite to the direction or motion of the box. Next, we have the rolling friction. Rolling friction naman kapag yung object involved is in a circular shape. For example, wheels, yung gulong ng mga kotse, or yung can, ball, those objects experience a rolling friction. And it is the surface o yung ground ang mag-e-exert ng rolling friction sa object na ito. And once again, opposite direction tayo. Next, let's have air resistance. For the air resistance naman, let us say we have airplanes or birds or any objects that could fly. Ngayon, yung ating air or pwede rin yung wind ang mag-e-exert ng mag-e-exert ng friction sa objects na in motion tulad ng airplanes or the birds. So, air resistance ang tawag sa friction na meron sila. So, habang umaandar yung mga airplanes o yung mga birds forward, kung ano man direction niyan, meron mag-a-apply sa kanilang air friction or air resistance. Opposite naman sa direction nila. So, kung pasulong yung movement ng object, yung air friction o yung air resistance naman ay pasalubong sa kanila. Okay? Next, and last one, we have what we call the viscous friction. So, viscous friction is the motion through water. Let us say a dolphin swims forward or to the right direction. Ngayon naman, yung water will also act or will exert a force on the body of the dolphin. Ang tawag doon ay viscous friction. Okay. Next example of contact forces is what we call a normal force. And a normal force is the force that acts perpendicular to the surface of the object in contact with. Ang symbol naman nito ay letter N, capital letter N. Let me give you an example. Sa example na to, we have two objects, box and we have a table. So between the box and the table, sino kaya yung mag-exert ng force, ng normal force? Dito, the object that will exert or will apply a normal force is the table o the surface of the table na may contact nito. So, yung table will push the box upward. The direction of the normal force is upward in this case. And ang purpose ng normal force is to counteract the force na nare-receive ng table o the force na nare-receive ng other object. So, dito, kung yung box natin ay may bigat at pinupush niya yung table downward because of the weight, ang gagawin naman ng table ay ipupush niya upward yung box by exerting a normal force. Okay? Ito yung reason bakit yung mga objects na in contact with other objects ay hindi nagpa-pass through because of the counteract normal force. Now, if the box and the table has no contact, we could say that there is no normal force acting on the table towards the box. Okay? Other example, kung ikaw ay nakaupo sa inyong upuan, you are experiencing a normal force. At ang nag-a-apply ng normal force ay yung chair, yung surface ng chair towards your body. That is why you were able to sit on that chair because the chair itself ay nag-a-apply ng normal force sa'yo upward. The direction of the normal force is upward. Same with when you are standing. When you are standing, the ground or yung floor, kung ano man yan, ay mag-exert ng normal force towards your feet or towards your body. And the direction of it is upward. Ito yung reason bakit kahit nakatayo ka sa ground, hindi ka lumulubog or hindi ka nagpa-pass through dun sa ground. Kasi sinusuportahan niya yung iyong bigat by pushing you upward. Okay? Next example of contact force is tensional force. And tensional force is applied to objects like strings, rope, chains, or cable. And the symbol for it is capital letter T. For example, dito meron tayong ball. Yung ball nakahang with a hook. So, meron tayong rope na nagsusuporta doon sa ating nakahang na ball. So, in this example, it is the rope. Itong rope na to ang nakaka-experience ng tensional force. Okay? Other examples, kung meron tayong wrecking ball, yung rope o yung chain ng wrecking ball ang nakaka-experience ng tension force. While in this example, sa example naman na ito, meron tayong two boys or two men who pulls the rope towards one another. Ngayon, itong rope natin ay nakaka-experience ng tension force. However, the direction of the tension force ay dalawa. Dito, sa tension 1, papunta doon sa direction ng paghila ng ating man 1. Dito naman, o yung object 1, dito naman, yung sa ating second tension force, the direction is towards the motion or the pulling of the second object or the man 2. Ganun yun, no? So, we have to be careful with placing the direction of the forces. Next, let's proceed with non-contact forces. For non-contact forces, our first example is the gravitational force. So, for the gravitational force, it is the force of attraction between two objects. In the case of the Earth, this force causes objects to fall down to the ground. And ang symbol po ng gravitational force is small letter G. Let me give you an example. Example natin ito, yung mga prutas o kaya naman yung mga dahon na nalalaglag, ang dahilan dito bakit siya nalalaglag towards the ground is the gravitational pull of the earth. So, hinihila nung earth pababa yung mga objects. Okay? Dito naman, whenever you try to throw a ball, palaging darating sa point na babagsak yung ball, gaano man kataas yung paghagis mo. Because the Earth's gravitational pull is being exerted on this ball. Okay? Remember also, when we are dealing with gravity, the mass and distance of an object affects the gravitational force that holds them. Meaning, the bigger yung object, mas malakas yung kanyang gravitational force between the objects. Kapag naman mas malapit yung dalawang objects, mas malakas din ang hila ng gravity. And remember, gravity is the force that keeps objects in orbit. For example, in our solar system, yung gravity yung reason, the gravitational pull of the sun sa mga planeta ang reason bakit nagro-rotate o nagre-revolve yung mga planets around the sun. Dito naman sa case natin, we have the sun, the earth, and the moon. The earth is attracted to the gravitational pull of the sun. Kaya naman nagre-revolve tayo sa sun. Ngayon naman si moon and earth ay merong gravitational pull may gravitational pull nangyayari sa kanilang dalawa. Ngayon, yun naman sa earth, lahat ng objects sa earth ay attracted sa gravitational pull mismo ng ating mundo. Kaya naman nga all objects will fall down to the ground no matter what. Okay? Reminder also, the weight of an object denoted by capital letter W is an example of a gravitational pull of the earth towards the object. And the weight depends on the mass of the celestial body where the object is attracted to. So, for example, dito, yung iyong mass sa Earth and yung mass sa Moon, i-compare natin, no? For example, yung iyong timbang or mass sa Earth ay 100 kilograms. And then, ang iyong timbang sa Moon ay also the same, 100 kilograms lang din yan. Hindi yan magbabago. Now, kapag ikaw ay nasa Earth, ang iyong magiging weight ay 1,200 newtons. While on the Moon, your weight will be 200 newtons. Mapapansin mo, kapag nasa Earth ka, mas mataas yung iyong weight compared sa iyong weight sa Moon. Because the gravitational pull of the Earth and the gravitational pull of the Moon gravitational pull ng Moon sa iyo ay magkaiba. Kapag sa Earth kasi, mas malaki yung Earth. That is why mas malakas yung hila ng gravity sa iyo. Unlike kapag nasa Moon ka, mas maliit itong celestial body na to, kaya yung pull ng gravity ay mas mahina. Okay? Kaya din, kung mapapansin nyo kapag nanonood kayo ng mga video sa YouTube ng mga astronomer na nakatapak sa moon, kapag nasa moon sila, di ba, para silang humping lang or jumping, hindi sila totally na naka-land yung kanilang mga paa sa moon. Because hindi ganun kalakas yung pull ng moon sa kanila. Now, hindi ganun kalakas yung pull ng gravity ng moon sa kanilang body. Unlike sa Earth na we can freely walk na walang aberya. Okay? Let's proceed with the last example of the non-contact forces. Example of non-contact forces is a magnetic force. And magnetic force or forces are exerted on a field of attraction or repulsion in case of magnets and other magnetic materials. Ibig sabihin nito, objects that have magnetic materials or metals, they could have what we call a magnetic force. For example, yung mga bar magnets or kung ano man shape ng magnet na meron tayo. Dito, tandaan natin na when we are talking about magnets, magnets have poles. Meron tayong south pole and north poles. Ngayon, opposite poles attract and like poles repel. Tandaan natin. So, in this example, meron tayong north pole and meron tayong south pole. So, without physical contact, this north pole and south pole will be attracted to one another. At ang meron sila ay magnetic force. While in this example naman, meron tayong South Pole and another South Pole na magnets, and ang meron sila ay repulsion. Ang gagawin ng magnetic force dito ay they will push the poles of one another. Dito naman kasi, they will pull one another kasi attracted sila. Dito, they will repel one another because we have like signs. Okay? And in summary, force is a push or pull of an object towards another object. And it can make objects move, stop moving, move faster, slow down, change the direction of the objects, and many more. And also, we will able to define or explain that there are two types of force, contact forces and non-contact forces. Under the contact forces, we have the following: applied force, frictional force, normal force, tensional force. While on the non-contact force, we have gravitational force and magnetic force. Just remember that force is a vector quantity. That's why it is important that you could describe the direction of forces. Okay? Here are the following references that I use in this lesson. And please remember that science is fun. Science is fun. I hope you learned from this lesson, and if you like this video and lesson, kindly click the like button and please subscribe. Thank you. Good day.